Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm your host, Doug Engler. Joining me as always in the co-host seats is our good friends Angela Rose.
Hi, everyone.
And of course, Darren Starling.
Who is not dead?
we
Yay.
want to yet. We want to remind everybody Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Casey Fox. For all of your artwork, cosplay, and commission needs, be sure to check out Casey Fox, that's KAYCIFOXX, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We're also brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media. For the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. Tonight we have a really fun show. We've got an amazing guest that I'm excited about bringing on. I've wanted to connect with these people for a long time. Seen them at multiple events. They do a phenomenal job at covering all things nerd. And we wanted to bring them on because I know a lot of people outside of our area may not know who they are, and we wanted to shed some light on this amazing organization known as Nerd Caliber. So please welcome to the show, Rodney Brown.
Howdy, everybody. Glad to be here.
Now, for listeners out there who may not be familiar with Nerd Caliber, tell everybody a little bit about yourselves.
So we are, we call ourselves a nerd lifestyle and entertainment magazine, although we don't actually publish anything in print. We have a website, we have a YouTube channel, and then, of course, all the social media presences that you can imagine. And our mission is to sort of expand the nature of what people think of as the kind of people who are in nerd culture or into nerd culture. A very strong aspect of our mission statement is to show the diversity of the people that are in nerd culture. And of course, this is, being said by probably the whitest guy in the room. We were founded by Emmanuel Ortiz, Puerto Rican American. Puerto Ricans are Americans. An American from Puerto Rican background, from New York City. And that has been the mission statement right from the get-go, is to be encompassing of as many different groups of people that want to think of themselves as nerds and showcase all of that to everybody else.
And you guys have had a big presence at conventions for many years. And you've done a great job at, I think it's kind of really neat. I think it was AAC last year, you had a table set up in the lobby. And you had a photographer there that any cosplayer who went by, didn't matter what it was, they wanted to get a photograph of it. Get information, credit the people who are in the costumes and stuff, which, you don't see that a lot from media outlets.
Yeah.
Where they get a few photos, quick, comment or two, and they might not even credit who the person was or use anything.
So that was me. And while I certainly do that, everybody on our team does that, the photographers anyway, and the video team. I mean, we obviously credit anybody that we get, do interviews with, whether they're just a quick answer of a question of the day kind of video or question, or an actual profile of a cosplayer at a convention. So I come from a journalism background, almost too many decades to fit on one hand. And I like the idea of, and Emmanuel, Manny, who founded the organization, Nerd Caliber, liked the idea of the way I approach photography is that I want to sort of document the cosplay that's at an event. I consider it an actual journalistic documentation of as much of the cosplay as I possibly can. And so I appreciate the fact that you recognize that, we try to be as inclusive as possible. I got to say, if I see, I'm not going to take every Homestuck or every Naruto I see as photo. Just going to put that out there. There are things that have become so repetitive that unless you show me something really interesting, No,
Oh yeah.
it's just not the same thing. Having said that, I think one of the first Homestuck photos I ever took was somebody of the, I can't remember the characters. She's like the big bad Empress of Awfulness and Evil, whatever her name is. And it was just this jewel encrusted gray, but with fantastic horns, and I was just blown away. And I asked her, "Oh, yeah, it's the Empress from Homestuck." And like, that's Homestuck? Okay. But yeah, so yes, there are there are times when I'm not as inclusive as you made me out to be, but we do really try to document the cosplay that anybody would see if they were at the con.
Because I remember AAC that you got photos of us, me, my wife, our friend, and my daughter as the skeletal riders from Minecraft.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that was
Which
really cool. And oh, your daughters are so cute.
she had a lot of fun in that. I realized as a mid 40 something, a bouncy ball like that is not something I should be on for an extended period of time. I was so hurting after that.
Yeah, that's I can imagine that's a hemorrhoid just waiting to happen. So.
Nope.
Sorry for the visual.
Nope. I've done my share of painful cosplays.
Yeah, that always amazes me how cosplayers are just so willing to put up with the pain for the look, basically. Now, I didn't turn it down. She asked to bow out. Like my third or fourth photo shoot with Jessica Nigri, because she had been in her costume all day, and it was one of those where she thought it was a good idea to have those invisible straps holding up the armor corset piece of whatever character. I can't remember what the character was. And then she had like epaulets that were covering them. But she came up to me, after somebody else had just taken her photos. She said, "Rodney, can we do something else tomorrow?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And she just moves the epaulette and is bleeding right down her shoulder. I'm like, "Yep, not a problem. You go get healed." So.
Nope, I've had my share of painful cosplays to the point where one convention halfway through the day, I had blisters on both of my heels, so I swapped to the cosplay. I didn't break in the heels before going to the convention. Shame on me. So I ended up swapping into a cosplay that had sneakers instead.
Smart call.
That's why I'm glad the cosplay I did this past weekend at Anime Boston was a nice, easy costume. It doesn't get much more basic than Kobayashi.
I basically ruined my ankles at one point running around as lightning because of the boots.
Oof. Ouch. I'm just amazed.
They love it.
The people who do the stilt cosplays, I can't imagine what their calves must be like at the end of the day. They must be on fire, standing on stilts all day.
And some of the costumes that you've seen throughout the years of going to the different conventions and stuff, you've gotten to see some amazingly built costumes, stuff that are just outrageously huge. Even Anime Boston this year, there were quite a few standouts that was like, I don't know how they made this, but oh my God, how are you standing in that?
Yeah. The Metal Gear Solid, I can't think of the name of what he calls that particular costume. It's basically a metal monster dinosaur sort of robot thing. And he was on plasterer's stilts, so good 3 feet high. And I think that was the only thing. No, he wore 2 different costumes that were both on stilts. But so my ex, Doris, was a seamstress. And so I kind of had a sense of, some of the things that go into making intricate sewing work. But then working closely with and being friends with a lot of the really talented sewers, crafters, it just blows my mind. The robots are fantastic, and I love them. It's amazing when anybody can build something that articulate, and Tom from Extreme Costumes can dance in his robots. And I've seen him dance in Bumblebee and Eva and all of them. But when then somebody, has this unbelievably detailed costume that has all this beading work or hand embroidery work or whatever on it, and I see it and I go, that's really amazing. Where did you get the fabric? Says, no, I put all the beads on myself. Like, okay. I can't imagine sitting there and doing that. I can't imagine how bloody my fingers would be with all those pinpricks I wind up with.
As somebody who my wife has made costumes in the past, I had to help embroider apples on an Applejack gala dress for a friend of ours that was a commission. I didn't know how to sew before that. So figuring out how to do this, and literally, I think there was, I want to say somewhere between 15 to 20 small apples on this that we needed to embroider the outside of.
Yep.
And we were like, I think it was the night before the convention. We were going to be meeting up with them at Bakuretsu-Con in Colchester, Vermont. And it was like 2:00 in the morning. And I'm still there trying to do the embroidery around these apples. And she's like, I'll finish up. You need to get some sleep because you're driving. Because we're planning on leaving early because we were coming up from Massachusetts at the time for that. That's before we made the move out here to upstate New York.
Now, is Bakuretsu-Con still going on?
I'm hoping so. I know that there's still a committee in place. We know the person who formerly was running it. She had to step back because of her own anime store business. And so it's a new team. We've been in communications with her about getting connected with Bakuretsu-Con. We have actively emailed Bakuretsu-Con about wanting to become year-round staffers to help with planning and stuff like that, because my wife and I met at Baku.
Oh,
and
nice.
That's a convention that we hold near and dear to our heart, so we don't want to see it go away. If we can be a part to help keep it going, we want to, obviously.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we haven't heard anything back. We're hoping there's going to be a Baku this year. Fingers crossed. I know a lot of stuff has been crazy and up in the air because of the pandemic and everything. And the fact there's a lot of first-year cons in 2022 is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we lost a few. They just didn't make it, through the pandemic. So I'm assuming there's a lot of people out there who see a potential for, a space that can be filled. Whenever, it's like any business, whenever, there's a downturn in the number of businesses, people come in to fill in that space. I only went to Bakuretsu-Con once. I think it was 2011. I liked it. It was a fun con, but it's a little con for a long drive.
Yeah, it was a very small convention. I like it because it has a very homey and comfortable feel.
Yeah.
Personally, I like the small to mid-sized cons because you get to, like I said, I met my wife at a small convention and we became friends because we bumped into each other constantly throughout the weekend and just get talking. And, it's a good way of making friends as opposed to an Anime Boston that is so large. We have many friends that I never got to see because, coordinating. One friend was working a table by the time I was done with press stuff, and I went by the table. She had already left the table to change costumes to get to a different cosplay. Yeah. So trying to meet up with people, and it can be very hectic at the larger cons. Also, with the smaller cons, I've been able to communicate and connect more with the voice acting guests. You're not as rushed in an autograph line. Because even if it's like Bakuretsu-Con one year had Monica Rial, we still were able to have a couple minute conversation while getting an autograph with her because there was only 30 people in line instead of 300.
Yeah, that's a good call. As long as the con doesn't put in restrictions in place, like a lot of the bigger cons will say you can't do anything like that. While you're in the line, there's no not prearranged interviews available at all.
Oh, this wasn't a prearranged. This was just walk up, talk with her while signing, and have a little conversation, and then go.
Yeah.
Although we did have, because we were friends with Caitlin French, we did have a 45-minute chat with her in the lobby of the hotel at Baku one year.
Cool.
As opposed to the likes of PAX, where you want to try and find somebody in the expo hall. Good luck.
I get, I've got my stories about PAX. I love the con, but they were founded to be the absolute antithesis to E3. And E3 was an industry and press event entirely until they opened it up to the public for a little bit and only sold a few tickets. And so PAX, the folks at Penny Arcade decided, look, we're going to do something that is entirely for the consumer. And so their attitude towards press is they're very helpful, and they provide all sorts of resources for the press, but that's it. You get nothing special, no special treatment aside from this 1.5 hour press only window I think it's Friday, before the show floor opens. And that's it. If you haven't made arrangements with whoever you want to see or talk to personally, PAX isn't going to let you do anything. And I get that. I understand it, and I appreciate it. But boy, as a press person, before I even started this stuff for Mass High Tech and the Boston Business Journal, not being allowed to approach somebody before a panel to ask them if I could interview them afterwards was surprising.
I can understand that. And, coming at it from a press side of things, because that's something I've had to learn over the 8 years of doing this show. And before starting Anime-Zing Radio, I didn't know that there was such a thing as press passes and stuff like that. So I've been learning as I've gone along, guys. I don't have a background in journalism. I was basically, before getting into internet talk radio, I was quiet, I was shy, I had very few friends, and I didn't do much. So getting into this line of work or hobby has been very much out of my comfort zone, and I've had to learn a lot over the years. And the fact that I've been able to continue with AZR for 8 years, still amazes me that I've stuck with this for so long. And the fact that we're still able to bring on so many interesting and amazing people, and even the guests who have come back multiple times, always have something new to add. And really, I've come to enjoy the journalist part of the show, getting to learn things.
Yep.
And, with a journalistic background, was this something you've always been interested in, is trying to get information and learn more so you can provide the best information that you can?
Well, first off, I'm a junkie for knowledge from the word go. If we used to visit relatives who had their home was right on a river, and if it was a rainy day, I didn't care because they had a set of the Encyclopedia Britannica, and I would, and I'm talking 7 or 8, I would just randomly pull a book out of the shelf, plop it down in front of me on the floor, and go from entry to entry and just read everything. So I've been a knowledge junkie forever. And I don't know that I necessarily knew that I wanted to be in journalism. I knew I wanted to write, and just sort of moved into journalism because it's one of those really great ways you can learn about everything. Now, it helps that, I've always been also sort of interested in tech. So when, an opportunity opened up at Mass High Tech, I was already as tech savvy as anybody they had on staff. So it was pretty easy for me to go in, but I didn't know anything about some of the other areas that, that publication covered, like biotech and things like that. And what a great way to learn is you're sort of forced to, all right, if I'm going to write and or edit this stuff, I've got to know what it's really about. Otherwise, I can't say to a reporter, no, that's not accurate. You've got to tweak this, or go back and ask them a question about that. And so it's always been just part of my nature to want to learn as much as I can about anything, and journalism is the best pathway to do that, particularly if you're someone like me who really likes to get I wouldn't like to say I skim the surface of everything. I like to think I get deeper. I'm not a subject matter expert on anything, including photography, cosplay, any of that stuff. But I like to think that my chomp is pretty deep on all of this stuff, as opposed to just skimming the surface. But I want that plate of things offered to be as wide as possible. And I did have dinner. That's not why I'm doing all of these food.
And that just threw me off.
But yeah, no, you're right. It is, journalism is probably one of the best ways to keep learning if you're the kind of person who likes to learn all your life.
And I know a lot of people refer to horoscopes, things like that. I'm an Aries, and by nature, I want to learn a little about everything and a lot about nothing.
I am as well, for whatever that's worth. I'm not going to dump on people who believe it. But, if that's a description of Aries, I can say I fit that description.
Same here. You looked like you wanted to say something, Ange.
Nope, I just, based on astrology alone, I'm just a fireball of chaos. And for those who put stock in that, I am a textbook Sagittarius.
One reason we want to... Oh, go ahead, Darren.
Pisces here.
Pisces.
That's why he's quiet and is always dead. It's like a fish out of water. The bad jokes continue.
Yep. This is nothing new.
I suffer from shiny object syndrome, something fierce, so it doesn't take much to distract me. So I apologize.
Well, that's quite all right. So one of my jobs when we do our live show is to get people back on track. But,
You're hired.
Diversions. Thank you, Darren. I'd have to talk to my partner about taking on any other jobs. The diversions are the fun part, frankly.
Oh yeah.
Particularly because if a bunch of people follow you down that diversion, everybody's having fun, so the show is fun.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And we've had that's one thing that I enjoy about doing this show is we are live and we are unscripted, very much improv. And hello to everybody out there in the chat room. Hello, Jason. Glad to see you tuning in.
Hello, Mario. Sorry we didn't acknowledge you earlier.
Yes. And we are talking tonight with Rodney Brown of Nerd Caliber. Excited to have Nerd Caliber joining us. I know, Rodney, we had talked with you at AAC last year. I think a couple other cons I've been talking with you or some of the team members about wanting to get you on the show. I'm so excited we finally were able to organize and get everything together. And
that's the little ball of chaos over there.
That's
PAX East.
That was I think I literally had 45 minutes before I was supposed to be at info booth and decided I'm going to go sit down. I'm going to go sit down now because I had been on the expo floor all morning because I was catching up with friends and they wanted to go to this booth and that booth. And
ironically, all this was, a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes here at AZR, but this whole interview was set up with me and Angela being at two separate conventions.
Yep. We Doug had a live stream going from Vermont Sci-Fi, and I attempted to join it walking around the expo hall. My phone did not like that whatsoever, and it cut out within like 2 minutes. So I gave up.
Yeah, we tried doing some live streams from some shows, and any large convention, you're not going to get the bandwidth to do it.
The BCEC was not the place to try that.
Nope.
It epically failed. However, it was a fun experiment. And then when we were sitting down, I literally messaged. I was literally confirming calendars with everything to get this set up because I knew if it wasn't scheduled right then and there, it was going to be we'll get to it eventually. And then, well, we know how that goes.
And that's why oh, hush. At least I stay awake for the whole show. I kind of have to. I'm the host.
That's now that I think about it, that's a really convenient thing. Darren is dead, and then you've got the graphic. It's not actually you. You could be taking cat naps, 5-minute cat naps here and there. Nobody's gonna know.
Darren and I both work a ton. Darren works a day job and owns his own business. I work 2 jobs, about 60 hours a week, on top of doing stuff for AZR. And it's not uncommon for Darren's workload to catch up to him and him fall asleep partway through the show.
Yeah, I don't have the energy for that anymore.
And I'm just getting up at 5 a.m. these days because husband's on summer schedule, which means get up at 5 to be at work before 6.
Oof.
Yeah.
No fun.
And try up at 4, work at 4:30.
Been there and done that. I spent my time as a fast food opener too.
Well, at least you weren't the manager.
At that point, I was actually.
I feel for you.
I spent too many years in fast food. As a result, well, I got burned out real effing quick.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say you burned all bridges with it.
No, I still have some left unburned. Shh, don't tell anyone.
But the matches are at the ready.
Rodney, unrelated to anything,
Yeah.
AJ actually did tell me to say hi because
Hello back.
Because he actually did get photos with you guys at Anime Boston.
Yep. That was an experience, I have to say. So Anime Boston, they reached out to me in the fall of 2019 because they wanted to redo their photo department. They wanted to know if I wanted to do it. And this comes from the fact that I know one of the guys that has been running the PR department and is now considered is kind of like the PR chief emeritus or something. For years and years, I knew him from tech jobs completely outside of conventions, long before I even realized that conventions were a thing, or at least nerd conventions were a thing. So he suggested I might want to do it. And I went, okay, let me talk to my partner, Manny, and see. And so we said, yeah, you know what? We're just going to ask for all of these nerd caliber things and see, and we put out this ridiculous list and they went, okay. And I went, well, darn, I probably should have asked for more. But so running our own, which we haven't done since a couple of years before the obviously everything shut down, our own little convention, the Cosplay and Photography Expo, where we had, I think our best year was like 250 attendees. It is nothing like the level of coordination that a 20-year-long convention that has 25 to 30,000 people every year is like. Anime Boston was an eye-opener, put it that way. A lot of fun, but that's one of the reasons why I think I said 5 or 10 words to AJ.
Yep.
Because I was a little busy beaver, as they say.
Remove the blanket over it. I say that's better.
We can definitely agree with that. We had the honor of being press at Anime Boston for the first time since 2015.
Oh, cool.
And we had a lot of running around on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I also had a panel Friday morning. Unfortunately, Angela was stuck working and not able to join us for the panel. But
yeah.
What was the panel topic?
Podcasting. It was called So You Want to Be a Podcaster.
There you go.
And we were Friday morning, 9 a.m., first panel of the con in panel room C, which ironically, the panel that was on right after us was good friends of ours and former guests Hatake and Sahara.
Oh, cool.
Amazing cosplayers. And then the panel after that, our friend Rob has a friend who's a VTuber, and she had the panel up after them.
Cool. Panel room C. That's a big room.
That was third floor, all the way at the back. I think it seated, like, if it was to capacity, I probably would have had about 500 people. As it was, I had about 50.
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
Friday morning. People are still either waking up or trying to get there into the con and get attendance badges and stuff.
Basically, and now one of the things that surprised me this year with Anime Boston was uh, the amount of tabletop gaming and board gaming. Like that's not normal from what I remember.
Yeah, that's a thing. Tabletop is taking off like crazy. It's just, PAX started PAX Unplugged, which is all tabletop board games, card games, non-video games, a few years before the pandemic.
2017, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right. And but also tabletop has become so much bigger a part of PAX. Part of it is, I think, because it is so much more affordable for all of the people involved to present, to do everything they need to do, even to play tournaments at a con, than video game is. Video game companies have to set up displays, big booths that involve a ton of technology, even just to let people see what the game is. Tabletop, you need a table or a bunch of tables, and that's it.
Or maybe an easel that you can display something on, that you can display a piece of cardboard on.
Right. And even if you want to be fancy, you've got you put up a big screen or something that you can have, your information on. That's still nothing like the couple of dozen probably computers that a game company needs to bring to their booth to have room for people to sit down and actually test play the game.
And also, as we've touched on in the past, Angela, there's quite an overlap between the anime and tabletop community. And I think it's, a lot of RPG animes have come out in the last 4 or 5 years, whether it be an isekai based or just a fantasy based thing, everything from like looking back to SAO to, Banished from the Heroes Party has very much, you were saying, has a very much of an RPG feel, where you could see that as a storyline.
Yep. Goblin Slayer was another one. Once you got past the first episode, the edgy for the sake of being edgy, if you got past that, it really did play like a D&D party.
Yep. You can even bring that back to one of my absolute favorites. What the heck is the name of it? Grimgar of Ash and Grimgar of something in Ash.
Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash.
Thank you, Darren.
That was a interesting show.
So obviously not high on your favorites list.
No, I mean I liked it, but it wasn't on my favorite list by any means. Very well done show though.
Yeah, that's why I liked it. It was innovative in the way it dealt with the RPG elements as an isekai, and also beautiful watercolor style artwork. Just really an amazingly well done show that ultimately needed a second season to sort of make sense of some of the stuff that they lay out in the first season and never do anything with.
I can agree to that.
I think there's a lot of shows out there that need a second season that never get it, and some that could go without a second season and do
and get 5.
Yeah.
But that also I think gets into the differences. What's popular in Japan versus what's popular in America.
That's true. That is definitely true. There are things that are popular there that I just kind of shake my head at. I was like, I don't get it.
And a couple of anime that I really enjoyed that came out recently did far better in Japan than they did here.
Which were?
86 is one of them.
Oh yeah, I love 86.
And
absolutely amazing.
And one of the other ones, Moriarty the Patriot.
Didn't watch it. I have a low tolerance for, because everybody does them, for Holmesy and pastiche type shows.
I will say this: it was. I like Sherlock Holmes, so there. That I'm a book nerd.
Yeah.
But it was also a very interesting take on it. And it was effectively a Sherlock Holmes story where Sherlock Holmes was a side character.
Yeah. Well, that's the name Moriarty.
It was very well done. But
I think people are going to be doing analysis articles and videos on the imagery of 86 for years. That's a show where, I mean, you don't have to watch every scene because it will make sense, and you can just watch it as an action mech show. But if you watch every scene, it's way smarter and deeper than just an action mech show.
Exactly.
So I agree. Everybody should watch 86. It should be way more popular.
And it really just didn't hit the mark here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those where, all of the, Annie-tubers, who do like serious reviews are all, oh yeah, no, you got to watch this. It's amazing. You should really watch this. It's great. And nobody cared.
I can think of a few Annie-tubers that are big on one series, and it's like, I won't watch it because the art style.
And that is fair. For some people, that's a deal breaker. And Mario agrees with us that 86 is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't. There are some shows that I won't watch for the art style, particularly if they are a retro, like a real retro look. You get something prior to the year 2000. I'm not interested in that art style. It's garbage. Now, to me anyway. But then there are things where if it's really bizarre but innovative, keep your hands off Isaacon. Yes, please, 100%. Odd Taxi, always amazing.
Dora Hetero.
God, honestly, that is so well done. I come from although I'm not a believer of anything since I was probably 12, but I come from a deeply rural evangelical Christian background. And I found the demonic imagery in Dora Hetero bothering. It was so good.
Agreed.
I'm like, okay, I'm not sure I want to watch that part of this right now.
We're getting a second season, right?
Yes, thank God.
And then now, one that had a very 90s art style was Megalobox.
True. I didn't watch that mainly because I'm not a big fan of sports anime.
That is fair.
But you're right. It is kind of a 90s throwback.
It was very much, it felt like it was a throwback to like Cowboy Bebop in so much as the art style.
Yep.
And that's another one I really, really enjoyed.
Speaking of art style, not so much 90s, but definitely a throwback, even though it's a newer show. Did you watch Flip Flappers?
You know what? I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes and then just dropped it. And I've seen everybody, again, on the Annie-tubers, on YouTube, saying it's one of the best things put out in the last 5 years. And, maybe I'll get back to it, but...
It's like classic Gainax animation, and that's why it was such a refresher.
And enjoying the oddball style animes and stuff. One show that I believe it's getting a second season, and I'm not sure why, but also at the same point in time, I don't know why I watched the first season in its entirety and then wanted more. But Pop Team Epic, as outlandish and oddball as this show is, I watched every episode, and I made the mistake of thinking it was a shorter time frame episodes. You watch the first section, you hear the girls talking in the female voices, it suddenly goes to a goes to end credits, and I thought it was done, not realizing that there was a whole nother, seeing the same thing again, only the girls are now voiced by male voice actors.
Yeah.
I think my wife and I went 5 or 6 episodes before we realized, wait, there's more to this. We missed half of these shows. So we went back and rewatched it.
You dropped out at 13 minutes.
When the ending credits came, we thought it was done, not realizing that there was more. And then when we realized there was more, we went back to the beginning to watch it. And it's one of those shows that there's no real point to it. It's just complete and total absurdity.
Yep.
But it's something I feel everybody needs at some point in their life, just to recharge your batteries, sit down, watch something stupid, and be like, you know what, I'm okay. I could be living this.
Aho Girl,
Fooly Cooly, to name some other good mindless entertainment.
Don't get me started on Fooly Cooly. Hate that show with a passion.
I've never actually seen it.
I watched all 6 episodes of the original Fooly Cooly in one sitting, and I can't tell you what it's about. It's just complete and total ridiculousness. A kid gets hit in the head by a girl on a Vespa. A robot pops out of his head. There's a giant hand that comes out of the sky, lands on this huge building shaped like an iron. That's about as much as I know. And there was a guy with big eyebrows.
We could own it now, but conversely, we could say the same thing about Evangelion.
Yeah, true.
It's just a very different kind of what in the heck did we just watch?
Yeah, except I think Evangelion is way more of a what in the heck did I just watch and I want to know about it. And I think Fooly Cooly presents itself, if you pay attention very clearly, it's a show about one of the most horrible people in the universe trying to do the most horrible things that she can do to a 13-year-old boy for the sake of ultimately lying to him all the way, and to everybody, all the way right to the end of the episode, when you find out that she's just a thief trying to steal the stuff that's inside him. All this time lying about how she is actually the lover of the thing inside him and wants to rescue it. She's a thief. She's like the worst character ever written in anime. And it just... Anyway, sorry.
And people kind of fell in love with her.
Now, kind of segueing on that note of the hero of the story is really this evil, horrible person. Did you watch Drifters?
Again, I started to. I love the concept. I like the guy who created it. He's done some amazing stuff. Just didn't hold me.
On that,
because the whole point, and yes, it's an isekai. Technically, it's an isekai. I actually enjoyed. It's
wait, what?
I was waiting for one of you to jump in with that. Basically, the point is the epic bad guy is an allegory for Jesus Christ. Like the good guys are all villains from history.
I was about to say, on another note of bad guys, and have you seen Vinland Saga?
Yes.
No, that's on my list, I think.
I can't wait for season 2. I love Vinland Saga.
About to say, Askeladd, he was something else.
Askeladd is probably one of the best
anti-heroes, or actual villains.
Because he doesn't really do much of anything heroic. I would say maybe an anti-villain, in that he maintains as status as he is definitely the antagonist to the protagonist.
Of course.
And everything he does is for his own benefit that just happens to occasionally also benefit the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you can even call him an anti-hero, but I think it's better to call him an anti-villain. In that what he does isn't just for the sake of villainy.
Like Thorko.
Yeah, well, Thorkill. I really wish that the actual real Thorkill was anything like he's portrayed in the anime, because you know, there's plenty of legends about the actual Thorkill as well, but he's not like 9 feet tall, and can
He's not like Goliath.
exactly. But yeah, no, Vinland Saga is wonderful, and one of the most complex relationships between an antagonist and a protagonist you'll ever see in anything. Not just anime.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell that you watch a lot of different genres of anime. You have a knowledge on quite a wide variety. What is some of your favorite genres to sit down and watch?
I don't go by genre per se. I'm a fantasy fan, so by default, and Angela's going to hate me for this, isekai is one of the genres that I watch probably the most, because that's where fantasy happens in an awful lot of anime.
Join us in the isekai trash.
Well, yeah.
There's fantasy that's not isekai. It exists.
There is, and it's wonderful. And there's wonderful, deeply realized fantasy that is isekai. Mushoku Tensei is best world building, in decades.
I can definitely agree to that. However, two on a similar level, Slime.
Yep.
Time I got reincarnated as a slime, and not isekai, but does a really good job world building, and even better so in the light novels, is High School DxD.
Yeah, I just have a hard time getting past the ecchi.
How many seasons have you seen?
I think I've seen everything up to, including most of the most recent one.
So you've seen 4?
If there's 4, yes.
Yes, because basically,
and just to be clear, I watch it for the ecchi.
You don't. I thought with all the historical figures, backgrounds, religions, and stuff that you would be interested in that as well, because what you've seen is just the tip of the iceberg for what the author includes in this series.
Yeah, I do think that's wonderful. The problem is all of that wonderfulness gets swept up in the main character's absolutely insane obsession with boobies. He has a song that little kids know. From his TV appearances about boobies. I'm like,
and see, this is, just no.
I wish. No, he's actually telling the truth.
I know, which is why I'm shaking my head.
Oh yeah, no, that's not. I'm not making that up. Darren, if you like that idea of deep god lore and so on, Campione,
it's on my list.
You gotta watch it. I had to look. I'm a mythology nut. I built multiple complete, role-playing game worlds, not just campaigns. Back when I was in college, is probably why I never made it through college. But I had to look up some of these gods that they reference. Like, I'd never heard of them, and they're legit. I mean, they go deep into some really obscure mythology.
There was one anime recent that was mythology based that I wanted to be really good, and it wasn't.
Was that the Battle of Ragnarok or whatever it's called?
Ragnarok something. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I didn't bother watching it because I saw a bunch of reviews before.
I watched episode 1 and I was just so disappointed.
Yeah. I know there are 2 Ragnarok animes, or 2 animes with Ragnarok in the title.
Yeah, this was from 2 years ago or last year, and it's something like, the
Records of Ragnarok.
Yeah,
I think something like that.
Yeah,
I was so disappointed by episode 1.
Based on from what I understand, is a really popular combat shonen manga, but didn't translate well, I guess.
Yeah, Record of Ragnarok is one of them, and the other one was something with Ragnarok, and the other one I'm thinking of was an isekai.
Oh, the I
Blesser of
can't remember the
Ragnarok.
something of Ragnarok and the Blesser of
Blesser of-
AZR.
Yeah,
That was terrible. That was one of the worst animes ever made.
I can contest that.
I watched it and was like, I can understand why like Giga put that in like D and F tier for isekai list, because compared to a lot of other isekais, that was terrible. It was still entertaining enough that it kept me watching it. Although once I think you get to a certain point of watching a show, hoping it gets better, you just finish it for the sake of being like, I got this fire, might as well just finish off this dumpster fire, and then
That
walk away.
describes 50% of the isekai I've watched in the last 2 years.
Have you seen Conception?
Darn, I was hoping we didn't get there. I was trying to not go there. Damn it, Darren.
Only 2 episodes. That's all I could take.
Good, because we suffered through the whole damn thing.
Why?
Because
Why?
they're dumb. I only watched the pilot and then said F this.
I gave it a second episode to see whether or not it improved at all. If it got any
if
less
anything,
dumb.
If anything, it got even worse.
Yes. The second episode is worse than the first.
You should have seen the last one.
No, you should have seen the last one.
No.
That little red panda thing ends up going to the human world with them, and he shags that too.
Nope. Just nope.
Mm-hmm.
We
It's
are
like, good God.
That is one that should not have been made.
I agree.
And there's very little that I will go that far about.
About to say, Aiken came close, but at least the manga redeemed it.
Aiken. I don't know if I know that one.
It was 2 episodes, and just Google it real quick, and you'll see a younger guy and several girls with oversized chests that are very, very short.
Okay.
And also oversized chest in general.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not averse to any of those concepts, but
No, try this girl is literally like 3 or 4 feet tall, and it's bad.
Yeah.
See, a little bit of fan service when done correctly is fine.
High school DxD is a perfect example.
That's just too much.
I don't know if the point is clearly fan service and if they do it well, I don't mind that. Like I watched the most recent the new Shin Ikitosen.
I was about to say I was going to bring up Ikitosen because that started off as an interesting concept, and I just kept watching the series because at least they didn't ruin it like Mock and Key did.
Oh God, Mock and Key was terrible after the first probably 6 episodes.
Well, about to say
I've never
season
finished
2 was
season
just season 2 was just filler. It was terrible.
Yeah. But no, so I obviously I don't really watch either the original Ikitosen or Shin Ikitosen for the fights, although they are pretty spectacular at times.
Mm-hmm.
You watch
and
it,
not just because girls' clothes are getting ripped off.
Exactly. I mean, it's
like freezing.
Or Queen's Blade. Yeah.
Or Witchblade.
Or Witchblade. That's true. I never made it through the Witchblade anime because I read the comic and it was just so wildly different in both setting and main character, which is, Sarah Pizzelli in the Witchblade comic is a tough cop. And the main character in the Witchblade anime was anything but that. But anyway.
Now, knowing that you cover all things nerd and you cover a lot of different types of conventions, what are some of your favorite conventions to go to? Is it anime, Comic-Con? I know every convention presents its own experiences, challenges, excitement. But what are some of your favorite cons to attend?
Boy, that's so as a type of con or as a specific con?
As a type of con. We don't have to call out any specific cons. We can just call out
I have no
different
problem
genres.
calling out specific cons. There are some cons that everybody should go to. If there's any chance you can get, everybody should go to Dragon Con. If you've got a chance to go to Dragon Con, everybody who's a nerd on the planet should go to Dragon Con at least once. But as far as, I don't know if I have a particular favorite type. I think I like anime cons maybe a smidge more because you generally will see a wider variety of cosplay at an anime con because plenty of people will show up in whatever they want to show up in. Comic book conventions have a tendency to really skew towards comic books. And obviously anything else that's really particular niche, if it's a Star Trek con or a Star Wars celebration or whatever, that's obviously going to be very specifically focused on that. But if the two big types are anime cons and comic book cons, I would say generally as a cosplay photographer, I'm going to see a greater variety of cosplay from different niche aspects of nerddom at an anime con by a little bit. Up until this last year, when cons started coming back, Fan Expo Boston, which is generally pop cult, but started out as Boston Comic Con, so it's generally still considered a Comic Con. Granite Con, which is Double Midnight Comics' con, so it's definitely a Comic Con. The amount of anime cosplay at both of those was way higher as a percentage than it had been at any previous year. And I think that's because there was just such an incredible pent-up demand among anime cosplayers to just put a costume on and go somewhere.
I can agree with that because even, towards the end of the pandemic, before cons were really coming back, living up in northern New York across the lake from Burlington, Vermont, we had gone to the mall in Burlington and actually walked by two cosplayers that were just walking around the mall. One was dressed as Hatsune Miku and one was dressed from My Hero Academia.
Huh? Cool.
No events going on that we knew of. They were just dressed up in costume.
Sometimes you just got to scratch that itch.
And another anime, because we were talking earlier about that there's a lot of shows that we feel never got the love that they deserved. One show that really struck a nerve with me, and I talk about a lot, is New Game. Of course, I hold up the art book here for a couple of reasons. A, to show, I don't know if you've seen New Game or not.
Yep. I like it a lot.
But also the fact that for those who don't know, I did go to a convention over the weekend. Leah Clark was one of the guests. So got to chat with her and got her to autograph her character's page, which I've kind of enjoyed getting the autographs in the art books because these are like official Japanese art books. I can't read a single word in here because it's all in Japanese, but it's really cool to have, and the artwork is unbelievable.
Yeah, that looks cool. I like that. I liked going on the anime side of being inside the production. Shirobako. I thought that was really cool. A good anime.
I liked After School Dice Club as well. That was an interesting one to get an inside look of tabletop gaming.
Yep. And for there's several for dating sims and also comic. Did you watch Comic Girls or Comic Party?
Doesn't ring a bell. I don't think so.
Okay, that's the inside of basically working for a publisher, trying to write your own manga doujinshi. And then another one was Psychono, How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend.
Yes. That was a nice blend of sort of inside. They were doing a game, correct?
Yes.
But then also a sort of a high school rom-com romantic triangle kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nice blend.
Another good one in that respect was Pokemon. Basically, the story of these two middle schoolers at the start who basically want to be manga artists. It's done by the same people that do Death Note.
Oh wow!
And it's and Pokemon was such a good slice of life. but also a very good look at how the manga industry in Japan works.
Mm.
There's a really good anime for that I hate to recommend because it's written by the same guy that did Oremo, and it has the same concept in the title and sort of behind the main character, because the title is "All You Need Is a Little Sister."
Yeah,
I knew
a
you were going to bring
sister's
that
all
up.
you need. Thank
I
you.
was going to bring that up too.
But once you
Yes.
get past that horrendous first 5 minutes, and I mean it's like the worst first 5 minutes in any anime you've ever seen.
That was hilarious, though.
It was really funny, but it becomes one of the best inside looks at light novel creators, at the anime industry, at the publishing industry, and at just sort of tabletop and friend card game sort of things. Because
I was about
every
to say,
show,
they really went into the card games, the board
Yep.
games, and any kind of game, really.
yeah,
And-
and all of those games are real.
Mhm.
And as it turns out, apparently all of the beer they drink is real.
Oh, Lord.
But if you can just get past that first horrendous 5 minutes and the main character's supposed obsession with the idea of the little sister, which he doesn't have, thank God.
What?
Actually,
theoretically,
Don't give any spoilers.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, it is really a surprisingly deep insight into how difficult it can be. That final game where they play the game of light novel publishers trying to get their product out, and it's like life. You spin a dial or roll dice or whatever it is, and random things happen to you. Like you get an anime adaptation, but the animation is garbage, and you lose X number of social points. And it's so accurate to what the entire anime is about. It's kind of shocking. I'd love to play that game, actually.
There are quite a few games in that seemed very intriguing, and I think would be fun to play it if we could find them. And like you said, the creators of that series really went into a lot of depth to, bring out that world and to be able to use the likenesses of the board games. Because you look at the main character's shelf, it's full of board games, and every single one you can look at and be like, oh, it's this one. That's this game. That's this game. That's supposed to be this. And you can go right down, and every single one is an actual game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now it helps that he wrote Oremo, so he's got plenty of figures from Oremo on this guy's wall.
Yep. And let's see, and Manga Sensei also had a slight inside look into
that
what
one
it
was
was
just
like.
weird.
Yeah, that was it does, and you do get a little bit of the insight into how the world of light novel publishing and moving into anime and manga and so on can work, but it sticks with its premise of brotherly love, as it were, just way too strongly. Whereas, all you need is a little sister. It throws that at you in a horrible, horrible way in the first 5 minutes, and then it's at best minor background fluff for the rest of the series.
And basically, they just keep the little sister aspect because that's what the main manga artist writes about.
Right.
So you still get the little sister aspect because that's what he's writing about, but the storyline isn't about, being obsessed with a little sister. It's about their everyday lives as a creator.
Yep. Yep.
And
really good.
Kind of on the fun side of things, one of my favorite enjoyable shows, the title of the clubs, if I remember, was the Video Game Creation Club. Did you watch Defrag?
I did not.
Oh my goodness. You need to watch that one because it did give a little bit of insight into the game clubs, but also it was just like it's kind of a school romance, but also comedy. You had the rough, delinquent character basically get roped into a club and then got into a feud with the other club that actually did develop video games, or Game Club. And it was just kind of funny to watch their little feuds play out and all the mischief they got into.
I'll check it out.
That sounds like a
Defrag.
normal day for Angela.
Oh, I will. So I have a genre. It's called the Watanabe-san genre. Now, anything, Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Kids on the Slope, almost anything. I'm not a huge fan of Space Dandy. But almost anything Watanabe touches is gold for me.
I've seen a couple of episodes of some of those. Space Dandy, I forget what, I think it was Ian Sinclair we had on the show, and I believe he was the main character in Space Dandy, and he was just all about Space Dandy. You've got to check it out. I think he had some alcohol in him as well, which I think he mentioned Space Dandy at least 46 times in an hour interview.
Cowboy Bebop is a classic. Cowboy Bebop is a classic.
Absolutely.
It is.
I have not seen.
You should. It's awesome.
Yeah. Same with Samurai Champloo is amazing. I, as a history nut, generally hate deliberate anachronisms. I didn't care. You can have, literally a guy in, 1872 or whatever it is, Japan doing graffiti on the side of temples and rapping. I don't care. It's so good. It's such a good anime. And Kids on the Slope, I'm a jazz nut. I love jazz. I don't listen to a lot of anime soundtracks. I will listen to anything coming out of Kids on the Slope all the time. It's just so good.
I don't think I've even heard of Kids on the Slope, to be honest.
I have.
Yeah. It's a historical slice of life set in 1969, I think, mostly, about a transfer student who comes into a new school in it might be Hiroshima. It's near there. It's where one of the biggest American military bases was in the late 60s in Japan. And he is a kid from money, very nervous, gets violently ill just when he gets nervous at all, runs into the school thug. Turns out the school thug is a jazz drummer. And the main character recognizes that when he's just playing sticks on a windowsill. And they wind up forming a relationship around the fact that they both play music. And the main character is a piano player. And they become jazz fans, or, the main character gets recruited to be a jazz fan. He's more of a classical player. And it is just this wonderful bromance between these two characters. It gets really deep into the relationship between Japan and the United States. The riots by college students in Japan in the 1960s because of college tuition changes when a conservative government came in. Just all sorts of amazing things like that. But it's really the story of these, three people. Then the girl that the main character is in love with is the head of the student body. And she is also the neighbor and therefore childhood friend of the thug, who of course she is desperately in love with, and all of that works its way around. But it's just music all through it. Fantastic jazz references up the wazoo. Bill Evans, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, You know, fantastic stuff. And I lost the audience. All right, sorry about that. Sorry about the jazz stuff.
Oh no,
It's okay.
Actually, we had a comment from HH says if you're talking about anime music, I think the biggest name for those classic soundtracks is Yoko Kanno.
So she not only wrote all of the jazz for Cowboy Bebop, she wrote all of the jazz for Kids on the Slope.
So you didn't lose anybody. They're paying attention.
Well, good.
I bet you weren't expecting to talk about jazz and some of these shows tonight, were you?
Probably not, honestly. But then again, if you asked me about genres and
we went on a tangent, but that's also normal.
Well, but that's true. Music anime is also a genre if it's done well.
Oh yeah.
And it can kind of be almost any music. Even if it's slice of life moe stuff, Show by Rock, K-On,
Fuka.
Oh yes,
Fuka was great. Nana was great.
Yep.
And yes, I did get Leah's autograph on Bud Virgin Logic as well.
Nice.
She couldn't believe that I knew she was in both of these because they're not like mainstream characters that she's known for.
Oh God, I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think it begins with T. The last year, it's a high school anime about the main characters in a band. It's basically, it turns out it's a boys' love anime. What the heck's the name of that?
I know what you're talking about.
Was it like the Boys Idol anime?
No. It's just one kid is a kind of antisocial guitar player.
Isn't that this season?
No. Well, maybe this year, but no, it's only June. No, it was definitely last year.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
I can't think of the name of it. It's really good as an anime. It's great as a romance anime, whether you're into BL or not. But it's a wonderful music anime. The rock that these guys perform hits really well.
Did you watch Carol and Tuesday, I presume?
Dropped it about halfway through. I picked up some of the contest episodes.
Okay.
Because the drag queens, that song should be on everybody's playlist all the time. It's just so good.
My wife has told me I need to watch this show, and she played me a song from it, and it was basically just FNBS.
Yep,
that's what he's talking about.
And I was dying laughing at this, going, "This is so horrible, but it's so damn catchy. I really like this."
That's another one. The music is fantastic. I just got really tired of I kind of think almost Space Dandy like silliness with the robot, and things like that. So I dropped it about halfway through.
Okay, I never really got into it, but just curious since you were on the subject of music.
Yeah.
Also, subject of music, Zombieland Saga. The music in that, they play a bunch of different genres in season 1. I have not seen season 2 yet because I'm behind the times a bit. But season 1 was really fantastic. I'm not a fan of rap, but that rap battle was epic.
And then the rap battle in Kaguya-sama.
I don't like Kaguya-sama.
Oh my goodness.
So the one thing I don't like about it is the narrator. If you have to tell me why a joke is funny, it's not funny. Or you immediately make it not funny. The best episode is the one from the first season where Chika is trying to teach Shirogane. Yeah.
She does,
how to play volleyball.
Yes. She does this multiple times.
It's because there's almost zero narration until you get to the very end where he's got to do his, balanced score, 1-0 or whatever it is. But in most of the episodes, the narrator will jump in and explain why this is, an interesting situation. It's a situation. That's why they call them situation comedies. Let the situation happen. Shut up. Sorry.
There are cases when the narrator goes too far, but then there are shows like Sergeant Frog where the narrator actually adds to the entertainment of the show.
Or Rosario Vampire, where the narrator eventually becomes part of the cast.
With the bat. Jerry Jewell did a great job as the bat, I will say that.
Yeah. No, I just, particularly with Kaguya-sama, it could be a really funny show if they just got out of the way of letting the comedy actually happen. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, continue. I'll pick up when you're done.
I was just, compare it to, it's not always a comedy, but it has some of the funniest moments of anything. You compare it to Beastars. Beastars is written so well and it's acted so well that when the funny stuff happens, it slaps. It's hilarious, and they let it happen, and there's no narration in the way. And granted, it's not, like I said, a comedy per se. It's much more of a drama. But then you compare that to something like Kaguya-sama, where if you could just get rid of that narrator, you've got some really funny characters doing some really funny stuff.
Here's a comedy, and instead of the narrator, you got constant text blurbs. Have you seen Settakai Yako Indamo?
I don't think so. That doesn't ring a bell.
The one where the guy gets roped into joining the student council the year that the school becomes co-ed, and he's literally surrounded by one-line jokes because of the girls that went there.
Yeah, no, that's hilarious. They do an excellent job of running up to the line, occasionally kicking their foot right through the line, but then jumping back. And it's just so boom, 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 boom. It's like comedy night at the Borscht Club. So fast. They just throw out those one-liners, one right after another.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
And I liked in the fact that, at least for the longest, there's 2 seasons, and there's enough OVAs to make them 2 more seasons. They've gotten 2 movies. It needs another season, but they also, for the longest, would tell you in the manga where they left off.
That's cool. I didn't know that they had movies. I know they did OVAs. I might have to check that.
Yeah, there's 2 movies that came out. I've seen the first one. I still need to see the second one, but absolutely one of my favorites. And if you ask me, Shimoneta was based off of some of the stuff that came out of that.
I can see that. I like the one better than Shimoneta. I thought Shimoneta was okay.
I agree. I love. And then also on top of that, season 2's opening song, just Psycho Legend Days. That one just sticks to my head.
Yeah, that one I don't remember particularly well.
Now, jumping back onto Nerd Caliber, how far is your reach? How far do you go to attend conventions to get the content for your channel? Do you have people all over the country, or?
We haven't rebuilt our base of contributors since the pandemic to the state that it was prior to the pandemic. So I would say pretty much from Midwest East, we've got people in Atlanta and down in Florida, and we've got people out in Indiana. We've got people in Nashville. We've got people, but we're mostly concentrated around the Boston area, New England.
You got people down in the Carolinas?
We don't now. We have. We did used to have a regular photographer down in the Carolinas.
Okay, because I'm just south of Raleigh.
Oh, cool. Nice. We had. I'm trying to think of where he was based out of. I think North Carolina, but I don't know where exactly to be able to say for sure. We have had contributors all the way out in LA and in the Pacific Northwest, but we also have people that are traveling to those distances as well. We've got a contributor who will always, every year, travel out to Emerald City Comic Con because he loves it so much. And he's from Maine of all places. I was like, yeah, sure, by all means, we'll get you press passes. Go for it. And we have people travel down to Florida, and of course, the Mid Coast, Katsucon, the DC area, and so on.
Katsucon's a show convention I want to get back to at some point. I only went once, and that one was crazy because having a wife who's an artist, she was able to get a table in Artist Alley first year trying, and I was able to get press, so we were pulling double duty that weekend. But the venue was amazing. Cosplayers, even though it was cold, the cosplayers brought their A games for indoor and outdoor shoots.
Yep.
I've never been to Dragon Con, so I can't compare it to Dragon Con. But from what I've heard, I would put Katsucon as one of those conventions that you need to attend at least once, just for the location and the A+ or S tier cosplays you're gonna find at Katsu.
Yeah, it's got the atrium of the Gaylord is so beautiful, and then once you go outside, all right down to the river is just gorgeous, particularly if it's not freezing cold and snowing and whatever, or if the building isn't on fire.
I've not been to Katsu, but I did go to MagFest, which is in the same venue.
Yep.
And that venue is gorgeous.
Yep.
The one downside is that MagFest is usually right around New Year's.
Yes.
AKA 10 degrees out.
Yeah.
And Katsucon is always around Valentine's Day. So it's a hit or miss. Sometimes you get a warm spell because it is, Maryland right across the river from DC.
Where it's going to be 60.
Right.
And then other years it's blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah. The year we made it down there, I think the temperatures were in the 50s and low 60s, and it was gorgeous. We even splurged and got the discounted tickets for the Ferris wheel, which we weren't originally going to do, but it's like, we're here, we might as well experience.
Yeah. And
it was a great time out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think Katsucon is a con that everybody should get to. Dragon Con is bigger, and it has probably the same quality of cosplay, but it has so much bigger a variety of cosplay that you could probably lose that. You may not see all of the really amazing cosplay because it's so big. It's spread out over now 5 different hotels. Now it's just enormous. But Dragon Con is the only con that I have seen twice, 2 different cons, somebody cosplaying as Viv from The Young Ones, the MTV series from back in the early 80s. Spiked orange hair, safety pins in his forehead, the whole 9 yards. 2 different years, 2 different Viv cosplayers. That's obscure stuff.
Yeah. Well, one thing talking about obscure cosplayers, one year at Anime Boston, I had seen somebody who was dressed up as the queen from the game Final Fantasy IX.
Okay.
And when I say you're talking about obscure character, if you haven't played Final Fantasy IX and you don't know who she is, it's a... Let's see if I can find a picture here. Like, the cosplay in and of itself was absolutely breathtaking and unbelievably accurate. I couldn't believe how accurate it was. And it kind of blew me away, and she was amazed that I knew who she was, because that's the only Final Fantasy game I've actually completed it in its entirety.
Right, that got me curious.
And even though it looks more of a fan rendering of the character than the actual character itself.
Oh yeah.
Let me.
I actually saw somebody doing an amazing cosplay version of that at AAC 2017.
And I pull it up here. So
yeah,
it was you can see the details in the face and the outfit and stuff here is pretty crazy on the grand scheme of things. And that picture there is mother and daughter.
Oh, wow.
The girl, that is the daughter, or the Princess Garnet,
Oh, yeah.
who ends up being one of the main characters that you can use to fight alongside you in the game. It was a lot, really intriguing and kind of surprising how well the cosplay was. And it's something, like I said, it was so obscure that if you didn't know the game, you would have just been like, your cosplay is amazing, but I don't know who you are.
That was pretty much me when I saw the cosplay. I went, oh, that's amazing. I got to get a photo. And then everybody around me just sort of ran up while I was shooting it in my studio setup. And they were just like, oh my God, it's so amazing. I was like, okay, now you got to tell me, what is this from? And she said, it's, I'm assuming she said that. I don't remember. That it was the Queen from Final Fantasy IX, but it's definitely that costume. I'm looking through all my old galleries trying to find it from AAC 2017.
And it might have been the same cosplayer that was at Anime Boston, because I know a lot of cosplayers in the New England area have their typical cons that they go to. AAC, Anime Boston are usually on the docket for many of the same cosplayers that I'm friends with from the area.
Yeah,
because I'm from the Boston area originally. So Darren's the only one that's really outcast here.
Down there in the not quite dirty South, the coastal South.
Mm-hmm.
Now I couldn't find it. I can't bring it up.
Speaking of coastal, it's about to feel like the further south because heat index is going well in the hundreds for the next 3 days.
Keep it down there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you can have it. I will enjoy my Plattsburgh weather where it's like been highs of 60s, 70s.
Yeah, I'm just not.
However, you can take some of this humidity with you.
Yeah.
It is wicked humid right here now, which is really surprising because I'm about 60 or 70 yards off the ocean, and that usually keeps it pretty nice as far as the humidity index goes and the temperatures and so on. But tonight it's pretty sticky.
We're not as bad as Florida, but we're getting dang close in terms of humidity. That's why the summers here can get particularly brutal.
Yeah.
Nope. We just.
So, guys, I am running up to my allergy-infested limit here. So I said I was probably going to do an hour, and I went an hour and a half without even noticing. So how do you want us to wrap this up?
Before you go, we want to give you a chance to promote yourself, plug any social media that you have, any events you have coming up. Tell people where they can find Nerd Caliber and where they can see you at upcoming conventions if they want to show up in cosplay and be a part of Nerd Caliber's gallery.
Cool. So as far as social media goes, literally everything is whatever it is /Nerd Caliber. That's just NERDCALIBER. That's it. Whether it's YouTube or Twitch or Twitter or all of them. Except TikTok, you have to add whatever that weird, you got to have like a question mark and then a signed statement from your priest or so. I don't know, whatever it is. So weird, two weird symbols around, and we will be at, I think the next one is PortCon, Maine, which is the 24th through the 26th. We'll be there some days. I'm not exactly sure when. I'm going to play the dad card here big time. I will not be there on the 25th because my son will be in Manchester, New Hampshire, competing in the US SNH National Strongman Competition, picking up really big things and carrying them. So I'm really looking forward to that. He lives in Texas, so I don't see him twice a year. And go Patrick.
Oh, definitely.
Hope he wins his weight class.
Yay.
And just again, a little bit of a brag. the one he qualified on, the last one he competed in, because it was right after things started clearing the COVID, even in Texas, there weren't enough people in his weight class. So they gave him the option of dropping or going up one. And up for him was in the unlimited class. And he said, let's go up. And he scored in the top third of the people who weigh 400 pounds. And he doesn't.
Wow.
So
holy one-liner.
He's a strong boy. Anyway, so I will not be there on the 25th, but I will be there other days that weekend. Then we are at Kineticon. Fingers crossed. I haven't actually heard back for the press passes, but we've never not been at a Kineticon in the last X number of years. So
same here.
And then Terrificon, which is down at Mohegan Sun. And then August starts with like everything. Fan Expo Boston. We're going to be at Pop Cult Anime Con in its new location in Waltham. And it just, we'll have people at Dragon Con and then Granite Con and Colossal Con East. And yeah.
Have you heard of PucciCon?
I have not.
PucciCon, they have two shows where we actually sponsor PucciCon this year. We went to their first show about a month or so ago in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania. The staff was amazing. They treated us really good. Like, you know the staff is good at a con when other vendors come up to you out of nowhere and compliment how well the staff has been treating them, checking up on them all weekend, asking if they need things. Because anybody who has vended or worked a table at a convention, there are times the staff will tell you where your table is and you don't see them again for the rest of the weekend.
That's not good.
These people were by on a regular basis, checking up on, not just the voice acting guests, which you would expect them to get pampered, but they wanted to make sure every vendor, every attendee was happy, things were going good, trying to help with any problems or issues that you had. It was unbelievable. We had such a good experience there that we continued our sponsorship to their August show down in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Cool. Send me information. I'll see whether or not our guy in Jersey wants to do it.
Definitely. And it's going to be 6th and 7th, I want to say. August 6th and 7th.
Whatever. Yeah, it's whatever that Saturday and Sunday is. 5 and 6, 6 and 7, 7 and 8.
6 and 7. So
I'm guessing we have something because we have something like every weekend in August, but maybe not. Let's see. What else can I say about Nerd Caliber? Check out our videos on YouTube. We've got all sorts of, really interesting cosplay interviews. We do our live show every Tuesday night. We used to do 3 live shows a week because COVID and no content because no cons. But we've brought that back to just the Nerd Week Live news show, which is Tuesday nights at 8. On all of your favorite streaming platforms, just like you guys. I'm doing a real quick look into August. Actually, we do not have anything that weekend that I can see right now. Let me check on that. So that's us. So thank you all for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. You are awesome.
Thank you.
I also sent you a friend request on Facebook so that I can send you the information for PucciCon, which I can say that it has been an honor to be a sponsor. And it's really weird when you go to a convention site for sponsors and you're up there beside Sentai Filmworks and Right Stuff Anime.
Nice.
It's a weird feeling. And, but I thank you so much for joining us and look forward to seeing you hopefully at Kineticon. Much like you, we're waiting to hear back about press. We haven't not been press for every Kineticon for like the last 7 years, not counting COVID. But
yeah, same here. So we'll see you then. And if not, we'll talk to you at some other time. Everybody out there in the audience, thank you very much for having me on. And I think I just pressed this X button down here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Night.
So a big thank you to Rodney for joining us tonight. Had a lot of fun talking with him. I know we wanted to touch a lot about the Nerd Caliber stuff, and we went talking about all sorts of anime. That's what we do here.
Yep.
Anime-Zing Radio.
But I'm saying.
And we do want to take a moment to send our heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Billy Kometz, who did pass away earlier this week due to cancer. Unfortunately, the voice acting world lost a great man. Personally, I never actually had a chance to meet him. I think he was at a couple of conventions that I had been at. I think he appeared at AAC one year, but with the lineup that they had, I don't think he was one of the people that I had focused on, unfortunately. But everybody that I have seen talk about meeting him and knowing him said he was an amazing individual, and definitely sad to hear about the passing of Billy Kometz. He was only 35, I believe. So definitely gone way too young.
Mm.
And switching gears now onto a better note, I did go to a convention yesterday. This whole weekend was NocoCon in Watertown, New York. You heard me touch on it briefly earlier in the show. To give a little wrap up of the convention, from a fan standpoint, was it worth a 3-hour drive? I didn't know it was a first-year con. And I didn't really know much information about it because I found out about it a week ago. But thought, it's a close event. They had Elizabeth Maxwell and Leah Clark, two big-name voice actors, as guests. So I was like, let's go check this out. Could be fun. Networking-wise, it was great. Got to meet a lot of new people. Got to talk to some cool artists. Some shameless plugging, Space Cow Illustrations. This was actually one artist that I knew. I had heard of them before. They're also based in Plattsburgh, New York, like I am. And I had met them years ago at Plattsburgh Comic-Con, which is how I remember their name, because Space Cow kind of sticks with you. Shout out to Studio Cadco. We're going to be reaching out to them. Their art was really good. They dealt a lot in like cryptic stuff, but what drew us to their table of all things was their table setup. And they gave us information on how, if you're an aspiring artist, you want to get into vending conventions, they have information that can help you on how, if you want to get stuff printed out, if you want to make charms, you want to make different things, they can help direct you in a way of making things a little easier to get started off with. And so definitely check them out on all platforms. Studio Cadco on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Linktree. So they were really, really nice to chat with. And, NocoCon in and of itself was a small con. It had a very Vermont Comic-Con style feel due to the fact that it was a wide open space in an ice hockey rink. So it was chilly in there, but it felt nice, especially anybody who's been to Comic-Cons, anime cons knows a dealer's hall, vendor's hall is usually really warm because of the amount of people in there. The fact that they had the AC on, keeping the temperatures down. I wasn't cold, but I was comfortable, where a lot of times you'd be hot, sweaty, kind of miserable in cases. And, a nice variety of artists, vendors, a lot of pop figure, a lot of pop culture vendors, antique toys, retro video games, a couple of people selling anime figures. There's one table that was primarily like idol anime figures. Like they probably had 30 anime figures for sale on their table, and everyone was either Love Live or Rem from ReZero. I'm like, I am good. I am not going to jump down the Rem figure rabbit hole. I am not Connor.
As an aside, Jay Cross in the audience says, see you guys at Kineticon.
Yes, looking forward to it. Definitely look for us. We will be there. hopefully as press. As we mentioned before, we have applied for press and been approved as press every year since I want to say 2015, 2016 that we have applied, and minus the pandemic years, and it has been a pleasure and actually a lot of fun to cover Kineticon. I have enjoyed being there as press, the press conferences and stuff, getting some private interviews with some of the voice actors in the past, especially the Steven Universe voice actors that you can find on our channel here on YouTube. Definitely check that out after the show. Zach Callison, the voice of Steven. I think we've interviewed Pearl in a sit-down interview as well, and really a lot of fun to attend these events as press. Do want to throw a shout out to a couple of conventions that were promoting themselves at NocoCon. If you are in the central New York area, there's a con called AnchorCon. We're going to be in talks with them about getting them as a guest on the show probably the week before AnchorCon, as you can see, August 19 through 21. They're located in Clayton, New York, which is north of Watertown, so it's going to be another bit of a drive for us if we do attend. But they are a 100% nonprofit organization. Any profits that they do raise from the convention goes right back into the community to help in funding education, scholarships, help with people getting food, things of that nature. Sounds like a really, really good convention. It says the North Country's largest Comic-Con. Guests that they have: Josh Hardman from Harry Potter. They have Peter Ostrom, who was the original Willy, or the original, not really, but in the original Charlie in Willy Wonka, the chocolate factory, if you can see there. So that's his fame. Also, they're going to have, for old people like me, they're going to have the Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit, one of the ones used from the movie. So that's going to be pretty cool to check out. And then for all of you gamers out there, it's more video game, I was told, than tabletop, but they do have tabletop and everything. Retro Game Con, which is the largest gaming convention in New York State. And that's going to be held in Syracuse. Says got over 200 exhibitor booths, plus special guests, tabletop, free play and events, video game, music, and tournaments. So all sorts of stuff. That's going to be right in downtown Syracuse at the On Center. So that's going to be going on October 8th and 9th. I know, Ange, that's too close to your trip for you to make it this year, but possibly something we can look into for next year.
Potentially.
Leave it to me to find all these different cons. I see Gaming Con. It's like, okay, I know Ange is a gamer. Let's see. Let's pique her interest. Whet her appetite.
No, it's more of a this year. This year is extremely limited because,
Oh yeah.
Because travel and COVID and a trip that was supposed to take place in 2020 got pushed back, pushing everything back a year, and yeah.
And I know before the show, we all were talking about we had busy weeks. We haven't been able to keep up with the shows that we've been watching. So unfortunately, we can't give a review of shows from this past week that we had gone back. I fell down the rabbit hole after promoting Bofuri that I started rewatching that again on top of all the other stuff. Forgetting just how crazy that show was.
I have an entire week off, so I will probably go down the rabbit hole of what on my watch list can I actually watch.
I had 2 weeks of vacation and hardly watched anything.
And all of my vacation time, I don't take a week off. I split it up into a day here, a day there to make it so I can go to these conventions Thursdays and Fridays. So I don't think I'm taking an actual week off. I think Easter last year was the last time I took a full week off.
Why Easter?
Because we went down It was the week leading up to Easter. Last year, Easter fell on my birthday was actually Easter Sunday last year. And we went to Pennsylvania and spent it with my family, who I hadn't seen since my mom had moved down there.
Gotcha.
And so it was spend a week with them and go to Hershey Park on my birthday, opening weekend.
Nice.
My wife had never been to Hershey Park, so it was fun. It's the first and only time thus far that she and I have ridden roller coasters together, because I'm not much of a roller coaster nut, but there are a couple of coasters at Hershey Park I actually do enjoy. And one of them most people don't like. Like, a lot of people I know don't like the Wild Mouse, but I kind of enjoy it.
I don't know. I've never been to Hershey Park. I just really like roller coasters.
I'm sure you know the Wild Mouse style, where it's just like the individual cart, but it's got a lot of sharp 90-degree turns high in the air that feels like it's going to throw you out of the cart to the ground.
Yeah, those are fun.
It's like I learned early on, you just lean into the turn as it's coming for that sharp 90.
But no, we had the opportunity. We had the opportunity to go to Europe, so 2-week vacation. Because I like to travel.
Nothing wrong with that. I do know that at some point this week or next weekend, we will be catching up on the shows we're watching, including Spy Family, Couple of Cuckoos. I've got to catch up on RPG, and I've quit heroing. Thank you to High Dive ads on Facebook and everywhere, being like, you've got to check out I'm quitting heroing, or I've quit heroing. That show, I don't know if either of you have seen it or even have it on your bucket list of things to check out, but it's a story of a guy who defeats the Demon King and saves humanity, and then humanity turns against him, calls him a monster, and basically shuns him, and he gets kicked out of the kingdom. So instead of being a hero, he decides to go get a job with the Demon Queen as one of her minions, after basically kicking her and all her minions' butts.
Lovely.
And it's an interesting story where it's taken some twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. Which, an anime that can keep me interested and then throw an unexpected twist in there. Like the concept of making the demons out to be the good guys and humanity out to be evil is an interesting concept you don't see a ton of. It's not an isekai. So it's a fantasy non-isekai. So you might give it a chance, Ange. But after quite a few episodes, into like episode 9, 10, 11, it's taken a twist that I really wasn't expecting, and kind of interested to see how it played out, but I'm a couple episodes behind. So I definitely want to get back. I might even watch that after the show tonight before I go to bed.
No, I gotta figure out what I want to do, because I have a whole. But I need to figure out my watch list and figure out what I actually want to watch.
Darren, what do you think she should watch?
From this season? Well, all y'all should have been watching Kaguya. Shame on y'all for that one. Y'all should be watching Shield Hero. Shame on y'all for that one.
I tried watching Shield Hero, the first one, and it did not intrigue me.
Well, I'll admit, season 2 has been very slow. But anyway.
Australia was not enough to get me to watch it. I'm sorry.
Let's see. What else? Komi-san. Shame on y'all for that one. Because Komi is brilliant. Spy Family, you're already watching. Couple of Cuckoos, I'm behind on.
I will admit, Couple of Cuckoos, is an interesting storyline. I'm not going to say it's a phenomenal anime because I definitely Spy Family is probably top of the list of the anime I'm watching this season. But Couple of Cuckoos has been entertaining enough for me to be like, okay, I'm curious as to what happens next. It's an interesting concept, but the anime is very eh.
No, this season, like, we got so busy that Spy Family is really the only one we were keeping up on, and then conventions happened. Tomodachi Game, we watched 1 or 2 episodes.
Let's see. Ahern Sama is unpredictable or something or the motionless. I forget. The one with the white haired girl being kind of like emotionless. You know which one I'm talking about.
I think so.
And then let's see, what else am I watching? I gotta go back and ye old list.
And I'll admit I've kind of fell into watching a ton of Funimation / Crunchyroll titles and not so much High Dive, kind of forgetting that High Dive had a lot of good animes as well. I just fallen away from it because there was more stuff that Crunchyroll / Funimation had picked up that piqued my interest more.
Oh yeah, and I'm also watching Shikimori. Even though she's no Marin, she's still adorable.
Shikamori, I watched a couple episodes.
That's the one you said that you didn't care
That's
for,
the
but
one
think I would
said,
love.
You will enjoy it. There's no two ways about it.
Is that a Crunchyroll title?
Yes.
I need to catch up on Data Live because Best Girl has made her appearance again. I wanted to check out your boy Kong Ming just for the reviews.
I hate
Demon Lord reincarnated as a typical nobody's entertaining at best. Need to start Science Fell in Love, so I've tried to prove it season 2. I'm not watching the Mob anime.
Data Live season 4 has been.
You guys were robbed of your AB birthdays last year.
Yeah. That's definitely true. And I know who Jay Cross is because of that now. And yes, we were robbed of our AB birthdays last year. And next year, it's going to fall a few days after our birthday. But we will still call it our birthday weekend and celebrate it. And maybe we can see if Darren, as a birthday present, can come up and hang out with us at Anime Boston 2023, since it will be like a few days after the birthdays.
Maybe. I'll see what I can manage.
Angela and I will go down and kidnap him.
Hopefully with it being
it's back at Easter.
Yeah, hopefully with it being earlier in the season, I won't be slammed at that point.
Nah, PAX Unplugged has become my birthday con. Because that has this year it is the weekend before my birthday. Last year it was the weekend after.
But definitely stuff that we need to catch up on and looking forward to. I know summer season there's going to be a ton of stuff that I'm interested in. Unfortunately, most of it is sequels.
Of course.
And for that same reason, I think there's very little that interests me for the summer season. For ultimately the same reason.
Oh, come on. Even Devil is a part-timer.
Never seen it.
Rent a Girlfriend?
Nope.
Overlord?
Nope.
Made in Abyss.
Nope.
Dungeon. Wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon.
Nope.
Classroom of the Elite.
Nope.
Wow. Slime.
Nope.
Love Live Superstar.
No.
Tokyo Mew Mew New.
Never heard of it.
Tokyo Mew Mew is an old anime.
I maintain, never heard of it.
I'm re-looking at the shows coming out for summer 2022 on my anime list, and like the whole top row are shows I would probably watch, and they're all part 2s, part 3s, part 4s. Devil is a Part-Timer season 2, Rent a Girlfriend second season, Overlord 4. Of course, is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon season 4? I will probably watch because Best Girl came in season 3.
Devil is a Part-Timer, Rent a Girlfriend, Overlord.
I think you would enjoy Overlord.
Yay, another rom-com. When will Ayamu make his move? If I'm not mistaken, that's the same author that did Takagi. And then here's another one that I will definitely be checking out. My Stepsister is My Ex-Girlfriend.
Okay, there's exactly one on the summer list that I'm definitely going to be watching.
Ruby.
Yep.
And then right after that, on the next line, I'm like, oh no, not another Isekai Pharmacy. Parallel World Pharmacy.
Nope.
What?
Seriously?
Parallel World Pharmacy.
Oh, God.
Oh, one Giguk was talking about Call of the Night. That's definitely high on my list.
I might actually have to go back and finish Orient season 1 because it's getting a season 2.
A Harem in a Fantasy World Labyrinth. There you go, Doug.
Which one is that?
Isekai make you the harem wolf. A harem in a fantasy world labyrinth. Upon completing, he's transported to a game-like fantasy world, reborn as a strong man who can claim idol-level girls. So, Isekai.
Oh, good God.
Okay, there's 2.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 that nope, but that's not summer. That's September.
Engage, kiss, slapstick, romantic comedy already sounds intriguing.
Cyberpunk is the only other one that actually interests me, and the fact that it's done by Trigger.
Oh, here's the isekai anime that made rounds a while back, Doug. The one about the reincarnated uncle.
I don't know that one.
You don't?
No.
Isekai Uncle, Oji-san in Another World, or Uncle from Another World.
Okay, I see that one there.
Parallel World Pharmacy. Okay, the maid one looks...
The maid one kind of has a feel of... what was that one from a couple seasons ago? Where everybody made the big deal about the demon lord being and skin color.
The Great Jahi?
Yes. Just the picture gives me a Jahi feel.
I'm not even sure which title he's referring to at this point, but hey.
And then Jashin-chan Dropkick, that's had multiple seasons.
Yep. And
I think Angela kind of wants to drop kick this coming season's animes, all except for Ruby.
Ruby and Cyberpunk, if I'm not mistaken. But hey, there might be something that grabs me.
I think you should at least have you checked out any of Overlord.
No.
I think you should try it. I think you would enjoy it.
But I think she'd enjoy Tanya a little bit more.
If I remember correctly, I tried Tanya and it didn't grab me.
Overlord, I think, might grab you because it actually does have a decent storyline. And I'll tell you right now, it's not an anime that I would normally like. The only reason I even tried to check it out was because of Isekai Quartet. Because I overlooked it many a times, but because of Isekai Quartet, I got intrigued by some of the characters, and so I checked it out. And actually, I've watched the first 2 seasons. I need to watch season 3. Even my wife is like, "I can't believe you actually enjoyed this show."
I'll give Overlord a try during my week off. I'll give it a couple episodes.
Okay, we're holding you to that, but we guarantee you'll end up watching the whole season.
Well, on next week, we can chat. If it loses me after 2 or 3 episodes, so be it. I tried.
Even Mario says, "Please watch Overlord," and you and him agree on a lot of stuff.
That is fair, and tune in next time for my for what I actually did watch and my take.
Also, to let everybody know that next week here on Anime-Zing Radio, we are going to be joined by Funimation voice actress Christy Rothrock and our winner from PuchiCon's giveaway that we did for one lucky contestant to join us as a guest co-host for the show. Tanya Firestein is going to be joining us in the guest co-host seat to join us for our interview with Christy. It's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely you want to tune in for that. Also tune in to find out, did Angela watch Overlord? Did she enjoy it? Definitely need to stick around for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are out of time here, unfortunately. Mario is excited. Christy is coming back. I really enjoyed talking with her. She is a lot of fun. Angela, I don't think you've had the honor of talking with her yet.
I have not. I'm looking forward to it.
And so definitely tune in for that. She does have some great characters that we love. She is a favorite of ours to have on the show, just to basically bullshit with about anime in general, and the fact that she has multiple jobs that she does outside of voice acting as well, including morning radio show host, which is really cool. So a lot to catch up on with her. Until next week right here on Anime-Zing Radio, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Stay safe. We will be back here next Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Christy Rothrock and our winner of the giveaway from PuchiCon, Tanya Firestein, to join us live here on Anime-Zing Radio. Until then, have a wonderful evening, everybody. Enjoy the week.
See you next time.